Good morning. Taking another ride into work here. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful morning. A little damp from overnight, and the sun is shining, and it's summer. Nothing to really complain about when the weather gets nice here in New York. We deal with enough cold and snow and everything else, so we got to appreciate, mornings like this. So I just wanted to bring, a new video to the channel and just, talk about, more of reasonings why I've decided to start YouTube at this time in my life. And I think, anyone that gets in their 40s can relate. You just get to a point in life where you realize the things that truly matter and the things that are important, and other people's opinions of you, it's just really not it. I've kind of gone through the gamut in life of, maybe people's opinions weren't what I truly am, or they don't really know me, but they think they know. I've done it all. And my wife tells me all the time that I've got a, hard exterior and just a soft teddy bear on the inside, according to her. And I would say at times that's true. When it comes to trying to help friends out through hunting and getting them motivated, and trying to get my older boys motivated, and I come across just straightforward, to the point, and say things maybe that sometimes is hard for someone to hear. And if they sit back by themselves, and they think about it, they're like, well, he's not wrong. My 20-year-old tells me all the time, well, you don't have to be such an ass when you say it. And I said, there's one way to say it. Either you get it done or you don't, and that's one thing that I had to learn just growing up. Had my oldest son young, and there was just a lot of stuff that I wasn't ready for as a man, as a human. I had my own things going on at that time in life, and I just had to figure it out, and I had to work, and I had to grind, and I feel like that level of, I'm just gonna make it work, is what's gotten me to where I am now. And the same thing with this YouTube adventure is just grind, make it work, do what you have to do, and see what your level of determination and motivation, how far it will take you. Because in life, when I've set my mind to doing anything that I find enjoyable, that I find that I want to pursue, I'm successful at it. And it's one thing I really try to pass on to my kids, is whether it be sports, work, life, you're gonna get kicked in the gut from time to time. That's life. I coach my son's house team, and the other night, these boys are 10U, and it's house, it's recreational soccer, but I have a kid on the team, and I started him on defense, and oh my gosh, you would have thought that, I told him he wasn't allowed to play the whole game. He's screaming from the field, "Coach, put me on offense." Meanwhile, the offense on the other team's going right by him, and he's standing in one spot. So last week, I did something that I don't generally do in-house soccer. I subbed him out. I brought him out a couple minutes into the game, and I sat him down, and I was just like, bro, here's the deal. In life, sometimes we get jobs that we don't necessarily want to do, but we have to perform at them in order to get ourselves to the next level. And the way that it's worked in this house league is I simply, one shift they're on defense, I move them up to offense the next shift. You know, we're in like week 5, 6. This is how I've been doing it from day one. So I tell him, you know, and each group of kids get a quarter apiece to play. They get to play half the game. That's how many kids we have. That's how it's got to work out. So I bring him aside and I just, you know, kind of give him some words of advice like, dude, listen, this is a life lesson. Do your job that you were given, and then you will be in the spot you want to be in, but you have to perform doing the job you don't want to do sometimes in life. And that's tough to hear. He didn't want to hear it. I don't know if he's ever heard it. And he sat there and he complained the entire time that he was sitting. And then he asked me, when I go back in, can I be goalkeeper? I said, yes, if you want to be goalkeeper, that's fine. I put him in goal. He plays goal. There you go. Your 2 quarters are done. He comes out, and now he's still, coach, put me in offense. I said, son, you cannot, that's it. Your quarters are used up, and you chose to be goalie the second half. And so he was mad, and he's telling me, well, then you know what, I'm just not going to come back next week. And I said, well, that's completely your choice, you know? I mean, you can have a talk with your parents and tell them, I don't like playing soccer, and if they let you not come back, then that's completely your choice. I go, but you're 10 years old, you know? You're not going to strong-arm me into playing you where you want to play. And I told him, I said, you know, if I go to my job and I say, well, I don't want to do that part of my job, I get fired. It's that simple. That's life. So it's just funny, you know, even though it's house and I try to just be happy-go-lucky with these kids, there's times, you know, like with my own kids. In fact, in that game, my son, he got kicked in the ankle and he wanted to cry. He wanted to come out, and I said, I'm like, no, just shake it off. Well, it hurts. And I said, shake it off. You're fine. Run around. You will realize you're fine. And after that game, you know, me and him had a talk, and I said, listen, you know, Dad's not trying to be mean to you, but I go, how long did that pain last? And he goes, well, no, not that long. And I said, you would have taken yourself out of the game for something that lasted 45 seconds. I'm like, it's just part of life. Sometimes you're gonna go through pain, but you have to push through. And it's not that I don't feel sympathy for, you know, people that are going through hard times. You know, I've gone through hard times. I've done it. I've been at a point in my life where I just, even with, you know, having the kids, you know, going through the first divorce, I just felt alone. I felt like, man, there's just, how am I going to get through all of this, you know? And the only way I did, I just kept pushing, you know? I never stopped. I always thought, like, you know, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to get myself where I need to get to. And I always grinded, and I always found a passion to kind of dump some of my energy into and keep my mind going in a positive manner. And it's helped. You know, and I've gotten now to a point in life where, I mean, my wife, I appreciate her and love her. She's my favorite person in the world. She just, there's not a time, you know, even though I pick on her about the packages showing up at the house, like we have the the warehouse for Amazon and FedEx and UPS. She's just an unbelievable person who makes me want to push harder and do better for her. And that's important in life too. And I preach that to my boys. You know, who you pick to be your partner in life can have a huge impact on the direction of your life and where you end up. So, you know, I guess, you know, my point is, you know, I get to this age in life, I feel I have stuff to share. I don't really like talking to people. It's actually easier for me to talk to this phone than it is to sit down and share any of this information face to face with someone. I'm always a little bit quieter around people than, you know, than maybe my thoughts or feelings are at times. But that's just who I am. That's you know, who I'll always be. But, you know, when I truly like people and try to care for them and help them reach some of their goals, you know, there's times where it does come across as, you know, maybe I am a little rough with the way I say it, but it's just always worked for me. You know, when someone's told me that I couldn't do something or I can't this or that, it drives me. You know, and it's a fine balance with the kids, especially. You know, I have to watch what you say, how I say it to them, to get the motivation out of them. But, you know, sometimes that's life, and sometimes you just need to hear it straightforward, and it makes you think. I'm not the parent that, you know, it's just hard. I mean, my kids, the two oldest ones, I hug them, kiss them every time I see them. Every time they leave, I make sure they get hugs. I make sure that I just let them know that I'm proud of them from time to time. You know, the little ones, they know that, you know, they get hugged by daddy all the time. It's one thing that as a father I've always felt is very important, is that my kids just never wonder if I love them, if I'm proud of them, how important they are to me. And it's important to step up and be there for your kids, but I feel like it's also important for me to sometimes be that strong voice that's telling them you're screwing up, you're not doing it right, do it better. And that's okay to hear, you know, especially in a world where someone does something half-assed and everyone's like, it's okay, you tried your best. Probably not. You know, that's a cop-out. Are you going to make mistakes? Absolutely. You make mistakes every day of your life if you're trying something. And that's okay too. You need to learn that you can make mistakes and that life doesn't end. There's a solution. You know, you make a mistake, let's find the solution to make the mistake better. So, you know, that's just my thoughts for today. You know, I'm heading into work. I'm probably going to make a mistake. What can I do to correct the mistake? We'll find out. But the one thing I'm going to keep doing is grinding and pushing. You know, not going to let something bring me down that there's a solution to. There is a solution to everything in life, you know. So stay positive, stay working, grind. Life is exciting. Life is as exciting as you make it. You know, if you sit back and woe is me and everything happens to me, then it's going to keep happening to you. But if you just get up and you say, I'm going to make it happen for me, it will happen for you, you know. But you got to stick with the plan. You got to keep pushing. Whatever downfalls come, find that solution. So I hope you guys all have a great day, blessed day. Get out and love life and live it. Have a good one.